Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3RaiderFax, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, and there's plenty of football to talk about.
There have been a lot of changes over the past week, and we're going to break it all down for you, so let's get started.
Today on the show, we'll take a look at some of the major happenings with the team over the past week, and then we'll continue to debate over what we're happy about and perhaps what we're not so happy about.
All right, Raider Nation, this is the Only Nation podcast, so we want to hear from the Only Nation, so be sure to give us a call at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can leave us a voicemail or send us a text.
Here's the latest Raider news.
The Raiders announced on Monday that they had signed center Andre James to a contract extension. According to NFL Media's Ian Rappaport, that deal is for 3 years and worth $12.5 million, with about $6 million in guaranteed money. James came to the club as an undrafted free agent in 2019, and the Raiders converted him from a college tackle to an NFL center. He started one game in place of an injured Rodney Hudson in 2019, but did not play any offensive snaps in 2020.
Let's hope that this guy can play well this year. We're definitely going to need him to. Losing Rodney Hudson was a big blow to the offensive line, but, word is that they have a lot of confidence in Andre James. So, I remember early on in the preseason, he was playing well. I know that he didn't play too well in his one start. I think that was versus Detroit. But, he was young then. He's coming on his third year. They just extended him. I think that under Tom Cable, this guy's going to be able to come out and perform. And then, of course, they got Nick Martin. So I think we'll be fine at center. It's just a matter of what are we going to do at right guard and right tackle. Good can play both, but we got Simpson. We got the draft coming up. So we'll see what happens. But they got a lot of belief in this kid. So hopefully he can fire off that ball and lead the way into the end zone.
As you mentioned, Homer, bringing in Nick Martin, I really think really stabilizes that position. We've gone younger and we've gone cheaper. That's definitely true. But I do not think the Raiders would have made this move and jettisoned a Pro Bowler if they didn't have faith in Andre James. And I just hope he rewards that faith with stable play during the 2021 season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that he's going to do a pretty good job. He has a lot to learn. I know in his one start he did kind of get stood up and pushed back, but he was like a rookie, so that's going to happen.
And he doesn't have to be an all-pro.
Right.
Just good and steady.
Right.
He's going to have Incognito potentially there helping him out on the left, and so, I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and Nick Martin's going to be a very valuable resource for him and a good backup for him. On Tuesday, it was announced that quarterback Marcus Mariota had restructured his deal with the Raiders. The new deal is basically a one-year contract that will pay $3.5 million, with incentives that could push the deal eventually to around $8 million. This contract is definitely easier to trade than what was on the books previously, but Mariota went on record saying that he was happy being in Vegas going forward.
And the thing that we did not mention is the fact that he's got the no trade clause in there, which means he is not necessarily going to get traded anywhere. But hey, having said that, he did step forward and say he's excited about the potential that returning to Vegas is going to bring. And he believes in this team, and he believes in his role with this team. I can't say enough good things about this guy. As much as I'd like to see him hook on as a starter somewhere else, I'm happy to have him back in the fold in Vegas.
Yeah, you can never have too many quarterbacks. We all remember what happened in 2016. Of course, we all wish we had Marcus back then. But it's a good thing we got him now. And I'm glad that he did restructure his deal. There were a lot of people saying, oh, that's messed up that the Raiders are asking him to do this. Why would you do that? Because this is kind of the salary cap went down, as we talked a lot about on this podcast. We all knew that this was going to happen, right? And so to see Marcus Mariota believe in Gruden, right, and understand that his best option right now is to just stay here and learn from Gruden while he continues to get healthy. And who knows? Again, all these contracts are 2 years, and we're going to see what we're doing for the most part, right? And so We had LaMonica, Blanda, and Stabler on the roster at the same time. So having Mariota and Carr, I know as a fan, I feel confident that if Carr got hurt, we still have a shot at winning the Super Bowl with Marcus Mariota, especially if our defense comes together this year, as we're all hoping it does.
Yeah, I am thrilled that Mariota is sticking around. That's the one thing that we haven't had for so long, is a decent backup. That if somebody goes down, that backup can step in and give us a good chance at winning.
You don't believe in Nate Peterman?
No, I don't. Nor Matt McGloin, nor Connor Cook.
I'm shocked.
What about Andrew Walter? I missed that guy. I'd liked him, dude.
Marquez Tuiasosopo.
Yeah. Oh,
That's my man, my boy.
And, of course, we can't forget about Matt Flynn.
Oh, yes we can.
Matthew Schaub. Now, my two favorites that I did like were Bruce Gradkowski and Jason Campbell.
Yes.
So I liked Bruce Gradkowski when he helped us beat the Steelers in that game. I think Chris Carr got the interception at the goal line and ran it all the way back.
If he could have just stayed healthy that year.
Yeah.
Little fire plug. The Raiders have officially signed free agent defensive lineman Darius Philon to a free agent contract. The Chargers selected Philon in the 6th round of the 2015 draft, and he was productive in 19 career starts with the Chargers, recording 80 tackles, 22 quarterback hits, and 9.5 sacks. He has not played in a game since the end of the 2018 season, spending part of the 2019 offseason with the Arizona Cardinals before running into some legal troubles. The Raiders hope that Philon can resurrect his career under the guidance of Gus Bradley, who he has a relationship with.
This goes back to Gus Bradley being the father figure, right? I know that, we just said that, or Heidi just said that he ran into some legal troubles, but I like that Gruden is still sticking with trying to help people rebuild their careers, and come back and become great players in the NFL. He's got burned a couple of times with some free agents that he went out on a limb for, but hey, whatever. At least this guy believes in Gus Bradley and wants to come to be a part of his system and help the Raiders win. So, I like that. I think that Gus Bradley, he can bring, if he can get that defense into the top 16 or whatever, man, that can really change this team and allow Gruden to just focus on his offense and be able to trust that the defense is going to help close out these games where they should have been able to close out the games with Gunther at head coach. But it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to seeing how competitive this offseason is going to be.
I went back and looked at his tape, and this guy's a beast when he's on. Now, I believe the league will probably hit him with at least a couple of games of suspension when and if he makes the team officially. But you will have to wait and see down the road what that does. But when he's on, this guy's a freak of nature, and I think he really could add a lot to the power and the push of that defensive front. I don't see him as a starter, but certainly see him as a key rotational piece that could come in and really put the fear into the offensive linemen and opposing quarterbacks. So I'm hopeful that he will be able to overcome those legal hurdles and become a pretty viable piece for that defensive line.
We're stuffed to the gills with defensive linemen and wide receivers, and I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a bad thing.
On Friday of this past week, the Raiders signed veteran free agent wide receiver Willie Snead to an already crowded receiving corps. Originally signed as an undrafted free agent in 2014, Snead has spent most of his career split between the New Orleans Saints and then the last 3 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens. Over his 6-year career, Snead has appeared in 86 games with 48 starts and has caught 275 passes for 3,393 yards, a 12.3-yard average, and he scored 16 touchdowns. Last year with the Ravens, Snead appeared in 13 games with 8 starts, and he hauled in 33 passes for 432 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also has 6 games of postseason experience with both the Saints and the Ravens.
Yeah, I like the signing of Snead. We need an experienced receiver, somebody that's going to take some of the pressure off Ruggs and Edwards both, and somebody who's got postseason experience. Hey, you can't knock that.
I like what they're doing. They're continuing to bring in guys that can help coach up these younger players, show them how to be professional, because they are committed to these younger players. They want to teach these guys how to be professionals, and they want these guys to be successful in the NFL and contribute to these wins and turn this thing around. And I like these kinds of these signings, like a Willie Snead and a John Brown. John Brown came in and talked about how he wanted to play for the Raiders because he was watching the scheme right there on the field. So they're bringing in these guys that know how to play in the league. They can help Derek Carr lead us to success and lead us to wins. These are all smart signings, and we don't know who all is going to make it past the final cut, right? But you can see that they're bringing in people to show these guys how to compete, and that's what we need. And it starts at practice, it starts at training camp, and then I think it will translate to the field starting this season. This year, we will start getting the wins for sure, and close out these close games because we're starting to build a core foundation with players that we've drafted and some free agents that have come in and just kind of stuck with the team. So now it's just kind of bringing in these guys now to figure out how to get over that hump. And we're so close. So close.
I like the signing. Is he a superstar? No. But he's consistent depth with a lot of experience and somebody that can help lead the wide receiver room, which is what we need because we do have such a young wide receiver core. Okay, T3 has rolled out the latest version of his 2-round mock draft, and he has the Raiders selecting an offensive lineman in round 1 and a defensive lineman in round 2. T3, why don't you roll out what you have, and we'll see if we agree with you or not.
Okay, now just put my latest mock together, and I know there's a lot of people that are really up on doing mocks, and I really, this is where I geek out. I try to keep up with the moving and shaking of the trades and everything else. So here's what I have as of right now on Sunday's podcast. So the Jaguars, Jets, 49ers, who just moved into the 3rd spot, and Falcons have the top 4 picks in the draft. I have all 4 of them taking quarterbacks. So Trevor Lawrence going first, Zach Wilson second to the Jets. I have Trey Lance going 3rd to the 49ers, and then Justin Fields going 4th to the Falcons. At the number 5 spot, Penei Sewell, the vaunted offensive tackle out of Oregon, who did not play in 2020. I think the Cincinnati Bengals pick him up at the 5th spot. And then Miami, who moved back in at number 6, I have them taking wide receiver Devontae Smith. So that's going to team him up with Tua. That's going to give the Dolphins that weapon on the outside that they need. At the number 7 pick, the Lions, I have them picking tight end Kyle Pitts from Florida. I believe he's the best player in the whole draft. That's just the way I see it. The Carolina Panthers also need a quarterback in the number 8 spot. So I have them going with quarterback Mac Jones. That's going to be 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 8. That's huge. Now that opens up everything for everybody else. Now, Denver and Dallas are the next 2 teams on the board. They both need cornerbacks. Now here's where I see somebody falling tremendously. Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech, who is the top-ranked cornerback in the draft, did not play in 2020, but he's having to recover from back surgery. So not only did he not play last year, but now he has back surgery on top of that. I see him falling all the way to the end of the 1st round. So having said that, I think the Broncos pick up the best cornerback in the draft, which is Patrick Surtain out of Alabama, which we're going to have to face at least twice a year for several years. And then the Cowboys going with J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, who's also a cornerback. The Giants are up next at 11, and I see them going with linebacker Micah Parsons. He's the first linebacker off the board. And then the Eagles are next at number 12 after having traded down and then traded back. They're going to go with wide receiver Jalen Waddle from Alabama, which gives them that outside push. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole draft, just down to the Raiders at 17. The number 13 spot, I have the Chargers going with Rashawn Slater of Northwestern. He's the top-rated offensive lineman I have on the board behind Penei Sewell. And then the Vikings go offensive lineman next again with Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. Now, he's the guy I really like, and if he were to fall to the 17th spot, I would really see the Raiders grabbing him up. The New England Patriots at 15, I see them taking defensive end Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. And then Arizona is next, and they take a defensive end as well, and they go with Kwity Paye out of Michigan. And then that brings the Raiders up, number 17. Now, you could go several different directions, but the guy I see them bringing in is offensive lineman. He could play either guard or tackle, but his name is Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. He's 6'6", 320. He's an absolute monster. And he's a guy I think would really be the guy that we could not only put into that right tackle spot, but he could solidify that spot for quite a few years. So that's what I see for the first round for the Raiders, and the picks going up to number 17.
Any reason you have us going with Tevin Jenkins instead of Christian Darrisaw?
Darrisaw is more of a true left tackle, and I think I've seen many times where offensive line coaches try to take somebody who's a natural left and try to convert him to a natural right. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, I think this is one of those projects that I think the Raiders just need to stay away from. I don't think they need a project guy. I just think they need a plug-and-play guy.
Yeah, if anything's been driving us crazy is the projects. We don't need another one.
Darrisaw would be good. I like Darrisaw, but when I compare the two, and I think who would be a more natural fit at the right tackle position, Tevin Jenkins is the guy. Now, here's the other thing, too. If you put Denzel Good at the guard position right next to him, well, Denzel has played that position a lot, that right tackle position a lot. So you've got a coach on the field right along with him.
It's a little too early for me to start looking into the draft, but I'm glad that you are, because it's about time to start looking into it. For me, though, the one name that I've heard a lot is Micah Parsons. Now, we have a big glaring hole at right tackle, so I can definitely see them going after a 6'6" monster that can play guard and tackle. If he fell, I would definitely be happy with that pick, and I would not be surprised. They went for the right tackle and Parker, but that didn't work out. But Colton Miller did, so they're 50-50 on the first draft with Gruden coming back. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went with an offensive line, because you're supposed to build from the trenches out. The average career is 3 years in the NFL, so every 3 years you're looking for these bodies that you need, But with the Micah Parsons, now what if he were to fall to the set number 17? They're saying even though this kid comes with a little bit of off-field issues, this kid is sideline to sideline and a hell of a ball player. So those two names, I'll start there. I'll do my research. Of course, we're taking next week off. So I'll definitely start looking into the draft. But what do you think about that? What if Micah Parsons fell? Would you rather have Micah Parsons or Tevin Jenkins?
Well, I'll tell you this, Homer, you kind of stole my thunder there. So if there are two players on the board that happen to fall, I'm scooping up either one of them. The two players are, as you mentioned, linebacker Micah Parsons and or cornerback Patrick Surtain. Now, Patrick Surtain, I see him going 9th or 10th, so I see him going ahead of Parsons. But those are the two guys that if either of those two guys are available on the board, I'm scooping them up. In fact, I'm taking the card and running it up to the table. And we can always get an offensive lineman in round 2. There are some draft rooms that go for best player available regardless of position. I know the Baltimore Ravens have done that traditionally and done quite well. This is one, though, that I think that Jenkins is a good, solid pick unless one of those other two guys happens to fall into the Raiders' lap. And if they do, I got no problem with either one of those guys.
Because this is a offensive lineman-heavy draft, is it not?
It is. They could easily pick up a good offensive lineman in round 2. I just see that they get the opportunity to pull a stud like Tevin Jenkins, who I think is going to really be a force for years in the league. That's who you go with.
All right, and you said that we are looking at a defensive lineman for round 2. What do you see happening in that round?
The way I see the draft falling, it's been mentioned many times that this particular defensive tackle class is not that strong. Having said that, I do see that we have a defensive tackle, if things kind of fall the way I've seen that they will, that the Raiders could possibly end up with one of two guys at the defensive tackle spot. Either Aleem McNeil out of North Carolina State or defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington. Now, I know we already have a loaded defensive line crew, but the Raiders are just trying to accumulate bodies right now. I don't think that all these guys are necessarily going to make the team. In fact, they may not. I know we're bringing lots of interesting and intriguing pieces. And I'll tell you one guy that I haven't even mentioned, and this has nothing to do with the draft, but you all probably have heard the name Jaron Reed. He's a defensive tackle that was just released by the Seattle Seahawks, and I know that he's already being looked at by both the Cowboys and the Panthers. I'll tell you what, if the Raiders could bring in Jaron Reed, I would cut almost anybody that we could cut on our existing roster right now and go ahead and bring him in and install him as the 3 tech right off the bat.
I would not be disappointed in them signing Reed. Now, as far as the draft, I wouldn't be surprised if they took a defensive tackle in the second round either. Of course, what I just said, you build from the trenches out. So I definitely think they are thinking like that. Of course, they did sign a bunch of defensive tackles and defensive linemen, but at the same time, those guys can easily get cut, especially if you bring in a guy that's young and plays. And then we got Hurst 1 more year. So you got this guy to replace Hurst next year. Let Hurst play, for contract all year, see how well he does. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took a defensive tackle. So I think I'm pretty much agree with your draft board here.
Now, let me ask you all a question. We brought in Solomon Thomas through free agency. He was number 3 overall pick from San Francisco. He had some moments, he had some flashes, but here's the team that drafted him number 3 overall, and for the most part, they played him out of his natural position. Now, who does that sound like?
John Gruden.
Oh, hell, man. Here we go.
So if we can put him where he naturally belongs, and again, this is where we have to rely on Gus Bradley to do his job and to do it well. If he can put Solomon Thomas where he belongs and have him play well, he can get the maximum out of him and maybe restart his career. So if it's the same old that we've been getting, we're not going to get much out of him. But if they can put him where he truly is going to thrive and pair him up with some other guys who are going to thrive and be in a good situation as well, it could be a resurrection of a career, or it could be a career killer.
No, I like the idea of him playing where he's supposed to be playing. You and I have been talking about Paul Gunther not playing people where they're supposed to be, trying to convert people, bringing in projects. Same with John Gruden. John Gruden lets it go on underneath him. So I think it comes back on Gruden. But quit drafting projects in the first and second round. Draft what you need.
They said that, though.
And when you pick up players in free agency, play them where they're supposed to play.
Mike Mayock said that. He came out and said that that's where they made the mistake. Now, I know you said they shouldn't have made that mistake in the first place, but I'm saying that they're going to make mistakes, But yes, at this point, with the way things are so uncertain right now, definitely play these players at the position. But it's mostly, I know Gruden, it's all under Gruden's umbrella, but look, Gruden gets the best out of his players. All right. He may expect players to be able to do certain things that may be a little far reaching, I guess, whatever, but at the same time, man, he has had success with players playing in whatever position they can, so I don't know. Anyways, we'll just leave that one alone. I don't want to go round with you, but this thing's getting turned around. We're heading in the right direction. I'll stand firm. Yeah, I'm Raider Homer. That's what I do. Whatever. You may not like it. You may like it. It is what it is, but yeah.
We love you.
Let me ask you both a question real quick, and this doesn't have anything to do with the draft. It might down the road, but are we going to pick up a free safety this week, yes or no?
No, we got Tanner Muse. I'm telling you, these guys are being patient. People are not realizing that they're going to try to look at Tanner Muse. So there's still going to be trades happening, right? People are going to get cut after preseason, if there is a preseason, but there's still going to be cuts. So you still got time to sign people. They want to see Tanner Muse, man. Heidi, you said that he's not really a linebacker, so you're saying they need to put these guys in their positions, and I'm saying I think that they've already admitted that they're going to start doing that. You could see Tanner Muse back there at free safety running 4'4", 6'2", 220 pounds. You know what I mean? That dude is an athlete.
I'd much rather see him there.
Yeah, he was one of those project guys. I think that they knew he was going to be a project guy. He had a little bit of an issue with his foot, so they gave him the surgery, put him on injured reserve, and just tucked him away. And this year he's coming back into camp. And they know that they want that speed in the defensive backfield like that. That's a guy that can, play cover 3, playing cover 3. He might make some mistakes coming in, only his second year, but that's the kind of speed you need back there playing cover 3 to get some of these fast wide receivers that are going to be blowing right by some of the cornerbacks sometimes. I don't know. Whatever. Look, see, Heidi, you're getting me on a soapbox over here.
You're welcome.
Homer's Hammer. That was a little mini Homer Hammer segment right there. Homer's Hammer.
Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or text message at that number, or send in a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts. Now it's time for another Hey Homer, Did You Know?
Hey Homer, did you know?
All right, time for another edition of Hey Homer, Did You Know? In this segment, I will ask Homer and Heidi and the rest of our listening audience a Raiders-related question with 3 possible answers to choose from. It's multiple choice, so just give it your best guess. So here goes. Here's this week's question. In 1995, the Raiders returned to Oakland from Los Angeles. Under head coach Mike White, the team jumped out to a record of 8-2 before losing a lot of players to injury, including starting quarterback Jeff Hostetler, and finishing the season at 8-8. Despite the late season swoon, 4 players from the Raiders made it to the Pro Bowl that year. Wide receiver Tim Brown, guard Steve Wisniewski, defensive tackle Chester McLaughlin, and 1 other player. Who was that other player? Was it A, cornerback Terry McDaniel, B, linebacker Greg Biekert, or C, running back Napoleon Kaufman? Homer, what do you think?
I'm going to say C, running back Napoleon Kaufman.
Heidi?
I'm going to go with the least obvious looking one. So I'm going to say A, cornerback Terry McDaniel.
That was my second guess. Man. All right, let's hear it.
The answer is A, cornerback Terry McDaniel. Napoleon Kaufman was a rookie in 1995, so he wasn't actually a starter starting out. He did gain more playing time during the year, but the answer is A, cornerback Terry McDaniel. Heidi, once again, you are correct.
I can't help it.
Just change the name of the segment to Heidi, Did You Know?
No, because it works, because you don't know. That's why we call the segment Homer, Did You Know?
I don't know why I'm this good. I just am.
Oh, God, here we go. All right, now it's time for the best segment of the episode, which is Homer's Heroes. I mean, Heidi's Heroes.
That you invented.
That I invented.
I can't take you anywhere.
Homer's Heroes.
All right, this week I'm going to go with an easy one. I am just going to read it off of Raiders.com because it's pretty awesome. When it comes down to it, it says former All-Pro safety Michael Huff, he couldn't be prouder of 2 things in his life, to be a Raider and to be a Texas boy. Obviously, I was born and raised right there in Irving, right outside of Dallas. I'm a Texas boy through and through, said Michael Huff. I played for UT and went to California to play for the Raiders. But obviously I came back to Texas. For me, wherever I'm at in my career or wherever I'm at in life, I'm a Texas boy. Michael Huff had the opportunity to make a positive impact on his home state recently after several winter storms caused great damage around Texas. Storms caused 4 million Texans to lose power and be without heat, internet, and access to essential resources. Huff, like many people, noticed the carnage of the storms firsthand on social media. It was one dad that kind of hit me on Twitter, Huff said. He didn't have power for about 3 days at that point. He didn't have power, he didn't have water for 3 days, and he had a wife and then he had 2 daughters. The daughters were 8 and 4. And I'm sitting there like, I have a wife and my daughters, and both my daughters are 8 and 4. Huff proceeded to find a 1 in a million Tex-Mex restaurant within walking distance from the father and his family in East Austin, and bought him and his family a meal. 1 meal for 1 family would later turn into thousands of pre-purchased meals for struggling families with no power or food, expanding from Austin to San Antonio. Huff felt like it was his obligation to give back to the community that has given him so much. Whenever something goes on with Texas, good, bad, or indifferent, I feel like it's my job to step up and help and just do my part to help the state. Michael Huff, you are this week's Heidis Hero.
I got to say, that was awesome to see Michael Huff do that. You know, Texas native, loving the, still talking about being a Raider and helping his community. That's the kind of stuff that he learned from Al Davis, fitting that he got that interception in the end zone during that game in Houston, right? So, man, this was special. That was a rough week. Man, we lost power, no water. It was pretty scary sometimes, you know what I mean? But, we made it through, and it's great to see Michael Huff give back to the community. I've been a Michael Huff fan for a long time. I used to go to a celebrity basketball game here in Austin. I got to meet him, get his autograph. So it's cool that Michael Huff is doing great things for his community still. And he's also a coach at UT now. So, he's loyal to the Longhorns and loyal to the Raiders and loyal to his state and just loyal to the human race, and trying to help out. So kudos to Michael Huff. You are definitely Homer's hero.
Yeah, and those storms even affected us. That was the week that we couldn't get an episode out until, Thursday?
Yeah, and you know what? That was, I would like to send my apologies to Q, who is here in Texas as well. Man, I apologize, dude. That was just one of those issues where everything that could go wrong went wrong. And so we missed out on that interview. But, man, we were rolling, man. I was having a great time talking to Q. I just wish that I could have pressed record. And I did press record, but I just didn't realize that my health checks weren't complete. And so I apologize. But, yeah.
It was a really good discussion. And getting back to Michael Huff, anybody in the Raiders organization who can rock that number 24 and rock it well, he's a hero.
Absolutely.
And that about does it for this week. We want to thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast. Please give us a call and give us your feedback on interviews, our takes, and share with us your take. We'll get you on the show. If you'd like to help support the show a little bit, buy us a hot dog on buymeacoffee.com/onlynationpod. You can find me, Heidi Stabbert, on social media as @KeplerPromDress on Twitter and Instagram, or Heidi Stabbert on Facebook.
Once again, Raider Nation, this is the Only Nation podcast, so we want to hear from the Only Nation. Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Man, tell us how you feel about these offseason moves, these upcoming draft picks that we got. Where should we go? Give us a call, man. We'd love to put you on air and have you be a part of the Only Nation podcast. And if you can find me, just go to theraiderhomerchannel.buzzsprout.com. There you will find links to all my social media accounts and links to my podcast on whatever app you use. Once again, that's theraiderhomerchannel.buzzsprout.com. Hopefully you'll check it out.
Now, we are going to take 1 week off next week in observance of Easter, but we will be back the following week. But we want to once again remind you, see, happens to me too. We want to once again remind you how important it is for the growth of this show for us to get your input. So send us your name and address so we can send you some free Raider swag. Yeah, murder swag. Raider swag. Call us and tell us what you want to know. Throw us an interesting nugget that we can use on one of our upcoming episodes and become a part of what we're doing here. Remember, this is the Only Nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. You can find me on social media, on Twitter at T3_sports703, on YouTube at T3 Sports Guy, and on Facebook at Tom THOM Jones.
See, I stole your thunder again with Homer's hammer.
It wouldn't be an episode of the Only Nation podcast without me getting tongue-tied about 5 times.
Yeah.
As always, we look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Raiders.